1 in 10 drugs sold in the developing world is fake or substandard. More than 120,000 people in Africa die as a result of fake antimalarial drugs each year. The market of fake drugs in Europe was estimated at 10.5 billion euros in 2010. This data just skims the surface of a growing global health threat. This is a problem faced around the world, and fake pharmaceutical drugs are just as problematic and dangerous as manufacturing and distributing illicit drugs. Counterfeit drugs are medicines with false labeling on their identity or origin to deliberately scam customers. Counterfeit drugs may contain the correct agent, have manipulated expiry dates, possess no active agent, or are wrapped in forged packaging. Such medicines are most often not distinguishable by patients, doctors, or pharmacists. Counterfeit drugs have ink, floor polish, boric acid, brick dust, and arsenic in them. This has become an extremely lucrative activity due to how easy it is to produce poor quality or fake medications and the minimal punishment producers face. There's the high demand for alternative sources due to drug shortages and high medication prices, but most importantly, the lack of awareness of the general public on this issue. At Pfizer, we hope to improve health and achieve equity and health for all individuals worldwide. We dedicate ourselves to humanity's quest for longer, healthier, happier lives through innovation in pharmaceutical products. Accessibility to medicine is among the global health goals for the UN, and worldwide medicine is important to combating epidemic outbreaks and preventing pain and suffering for our citizens. We need to address the concern of counterfeit drugs in order to protect our communities. Pfizer recognizes that in addition to its own initiatives, partnerships must be forged across government agencies, the healthcare community, patients, and third-party stakeholders to ensure that patients have a safe supply of medicine and that justice is served to those who put patients' lives at risk.
There are many challenges that come from counterfeit drugs for nations, domestically and internationally. Think widespread epidemics caused by mismedicating a population. The income from counterfeit drugs goes to dangerous non-state actors, losing trust of citizens as doctors, corporations, and states. According to the World Health Organization, some of the world's top health concerns are cholera, influenza, Lassa fever, meningitis, and yellow fever. Some of the world's leading chronic diseases include cancer, cardiovascular chronic respiratory diseases, and diabetes. All, if not most of these health concerns require medication to control. Let's look at two scenarios. There are over 10 million Americans who measure blood glucose, many of whom rely on at-home diabetes tests to take sensitive measurements of blood sugar levels to monitor insulin requirements. In 2006, about 1 million fake one-touch test strips turned up in at least 35 states, and in a number of countries in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. These counterfeit test strips were found to give incorrect readings, with the potential to cause patients to inject dangerous levels of insulin. The counterfeiters had accurately copied many elements of the test strip packaging, with the important exception of the lot number on the carton, which was incorrect, enabling the company to identify the fakes and issue public warnings. Second, during the 1995 meningitis epidemic in Niger, the authorities received a donation of 88,000 vaccines from neighboring Nigeria. The drugs were found to be counterfeit, with no traces of active product. Some 60,000 people were inoculated with the fake vaccines. Without vaccines and medicines, widespread epidemics are a huge threat to global health. With counterfeit drugs becoming a major threat to public health, we must consider the intentions as to why counterfeit drugs are produced. One staggering statistic promulgated by the World Health Organization posits $32 billion annual estimated revenue from counterfeit medicines. The market for counterfeit medicine engages as an avenue to fuel funding of dangerous non-state actors. In 2006, a joint terrorism task force indicated 19 individuals in Detroit that were tied to a cartel whose principal purpose was fundraising for the Lebanese terrorist organization Hezbollah. Historically, much of the focus for these cartels have been linked to cigarettes and other goods. Similarly, in 2010, Lebanese police uncovered a medical counterfeiting operation in Lebanon, run by the Hezbollah. It is estimated that from this cartel alone, over 10 tons of hazardous pills have fled the market, and Hezbollah has benefited in the range of hundreds of millions of dollars. With knowledge of funding dangerous non-state actors, we must understand the implications of trafficking counterfeit medicine. In addition to fueling non-state actors and organized crime, allowing fake drugs to enter a country can undermine the corporate and government in the eyes of the public. It is a country's objective to keep its population safe. If fake drugs can get through the hands of customs, pharmacies, doctors without being detected and into the hands of the patients, then who is safe? If we do not have measures in place to ensure medication is real and regulated, more than people's trust will be at stake, the health and potentially the lives of millions. Citizens may contribute the government in actively permitting counterfeits and participating in the industry. In 2012, Tanzania's free drug supply for anti-AIDS medication turned for the worse. Donations from international NGOs had been infiltrated with counterfeits. The citizens no longer trusted the program, the government, and the drugs, instead turning to potion makers and local healers. The damage of losing the public's trust is not one Pfizer or other actors should be willing to take.
Issues such as these have led us to propose potential solutions for counterfeit drugs that will create change for global health. We need to attack this problem from a variety of sources. Counterfeit drugs need to be considered a dangerous industry, such as producing cocaine and other illicit drugs. We hope to improve supply chain through the technology and blockchain, increase awareness amongst the global community, encourage government action. With individuals not having access to medication resulting in drug shortages, we need to create improvements in data use, accessibility, transparency, and visibility in order to combat stock out duration and commodity expiry. We implement technology and ways to trace medicines back to secured sources. Through 2D barcodes and labeled with RFID chips, consumers can reference whether product boxes are real. Additionally, investing in handheld monitor devices for pharmacy suppliers and customer agents. We also believe in introducing blockchain into the healthcare industry would provide a much-needed transparency. A survey conducted by Premier Healthcare Alliance in 2014 estimated drug shortages cost U.S. hospitals alone about $230 million annually as they turn up to higher-cost alternatives. A survey by the American Society of Health Pharmacists estimated annually national-wide labor costs for managing shortages average about $216 million. Through blockchain, we hope to strengthen supply chain integrity, facilitated by a closed ledger system which enables trust exchanges between parties. This implementation would be the added benefit of reinforcing compliance amongst regulator bodies and multi-graded risk associated with potential shortages. One of the biggest and most effective solutions will be to bring more awareness to our communities through education. In 2015, a campaign entitled "What in the World is a Fake Medicine?" promoted awareness by the general public by publishing the first booklet of counterfeit medication specifically for patients. This brought to light the issue and led the population to begin to question where their medication came from. This initiative began in France and aimed to target not only the public but also healthcare professionals. This is no longer an issue facing development countries. Counterfeit drugs can either enter development markets through illegitimate pharmacies, which are online. For example, in October of 2004, Pfizer investigated an online pharmacy claiming to be based in Canada. This pharmacy website was actually being hosted in Korea and registered in St. Kitts, and the orders packages have an Oklahoma City postmark. People needed to know the risk and what signs to look for when using online pharmacies. For Pfizer, the production and distribution of falsified drugs is more than a problem of copyright and patient infringement. It is putting patients at risk. This business is a crime against humanity and should be treated like one. According to the World Health Organization, 30% of countries have little to no regulations to effectively combat counterfeit drugs. The other 70% have much room for improvement. For example, in Bogota, in 2001, a seizure of 20,000 counterfeit drugs led to the arrest of 10 traffickers who were released just days later on bail. These crimes need harsher punishments. Governments need to regulate and monitor their import and export. There needs to be training and funding to identify fake drugs on every step of the healthcare supply chain. Governments need to criminalize the production, distribution, and other activities which will allow these drugs to get on the market. Governments need to treat counterfeit medication violations for what effects their work can have on society, harming the health and potentially killing thousands of people. There needs to be more interaction and collaboration between international agencies, governments, and other parties in identifying and bringing these violators to justice. Counterfeit drugs are a global health risk. It needs to be addressed from multiple sources. We need to increase the awareness of the public, we need to improve our supply chains and verification systems, and we need stronger laws against this serious issue.